Shalom, Israel. Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, I'm going to be doing Genesis chapter 18. And with that, y'all, let's go ahead and get right into this. Genesis 18 and 1. And it says, "And the Lord appeared unto him, unto Abraham, in the plains of Mamre. And he," meaning Abraham, "sat in the tent door in the heat of the day." Verse 2. "And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed themselves toward the ground." Now, of the 3 of these men, one of these men are very special. And it's the reason why Abraham bowed himself. So far what we're reading is Abraham was sitting by the tent. It was hot outside. And, while he was probably daydreaming or whatever he was doing, he looked up and he seen 3 men. But one of those men of the 3 were very special, which is why he ran and he bowed himself toward the ground. And let's figure out who it is. Verse 3. "And said," this is what Abraham said. He says, "My Lord." Wait a minute. So Abraham is talking to the Lord? Yeah, he's talking to the Lord, but we need to figure out which Lord. Was Abraham talking to the Father? Because you got people that say Abraham was talking to the Father. Or was he talking to Jesus? Because right here he literally said, "My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from my servant." Remember, we only serve God. And when you talk about God, you're talking about the Godhead. But hey, we only serve God. So he wasn't talking about no angel. He said, "Thy servant." So we got to see what Abraham is talking about. Verse 4. "Abraham said, Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said." So Abraham, he's showing these 3 men, with one of them being the Lord. He's showing these 3 men hospitality. And that's something that black people don't do today. We definitely don't do it today because we hate each other and we don't trust each other. Okay, verse 6. And it says, "And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah." So Abraham is at full speed. He ain't taking his time. He looking like, look, the Lord here. I got to hurry up. And that's how it is. When it comes to the Most High, you don't take your time. You got to, let's go. Hurry up. Ain't no taking your time with the King of Kings. You got to hurry up. Let's get it. Okay. So he hastened unto the tent unto Sarah. Okay, and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the earth. So he ran and told Sarah, "Hey, I need you to make this." Now notice, it didn't say that Sarah argued with Abraham, "Why I gotta do this?" She didn't question any of that. She just went ahead and did what Abraham told her to do because he is the head. She didn't argue with him. All right. Verse 8. "And he took verse 7. "And Abraham ran unto the herd," unto the cattle, "and fetched a calf, tender and good." So that means he made sure he got the best of his cattle, "and gave it unto a young man, and hasted to dress it." All right. So the young man prepared it, and the young man making it into a meal. Verse 8. And it says, "And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before those 3 men, which one of them being the Lord. And it says, he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat." So that means the Lord and the 2 that was with him, they took Abraham up on his hospitality. But we got to figure out in this verse 3, which Lord? Is it God the Father, or is it God the Son? Which Lord are we dealing with here? Because a lot of people say in the Old Testament, we only dealt with the Father. It wasn't until the new we dealt with Christ. Christ was always here, and actually Christ spoke of this day here in Genesis 18. So let's go real quick, guys, to John 8. John chapter 8. We need to figure out which Lord. Who was there? Who seen Abraham? Who did Abraham see? That, because we see Abraham was happy. He was running and everything, getting stuff prepared. He bowed and everything. So we need to figure out to who. All right. So John chapter 8, and I'm going to read verses 56 through 59. Now, this is Jesus talking. All right. So he's the Son out of the Godhead. And he says, now, Christ here, he's talking to the unbelieving Jews who are rejecting him. Verse 56, he says, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. And aren't we reading it in Genesis 18? Abraham happy to see the Lord. Okay, because Abraham didn't identify which. He just said, my Lord. But we see here from John 8 and 56 that Lord that Abraham was talking about was Jesus. That's who he was talking to. He was talking to Jesus alongside the other two men. And it says, and he saw it and was glad. And Abraham sure was. So it was Jesus who Abraham was dealing with. Verse 57. Because the Jews, they're catching on to what Jesus is trying to say. Then said the Jews unto him, thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham? And so the Jews are like, okay, you're saying you seen Abraham in person, but how? Abraham was from Abraham was from ancient times, and you not yet 50 years old, and you saying you seen him in person. 58, this is what Jesus says. Jesus said unto them, so unto the unbelieving Jews, he says, verily, verily, meaning truly, truly, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Just like in Exodus with Moses, he was supposed to tell the children of Israel, tell them that I am sent you. Hey, Jesus is saying the same thing here. Before Abraham was, I am. So you know what he was telling them unbelieving Jews is that, yeah, I seen Abraham in person back when I was God. And see, the Jews are going to understand that. That's why they're going to do what they do in this next verse. Then took they up stones to cast at him. But Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst or the middle of them, and so passed by. So they picked up stones to throw at Jesus because they understood that it was blasphemy and it was punishable by death. It was blasphemy for a man to make himself equal with God. Only they, the unbelieving Jews, they didn't understand that this one that they was dealing with, Jesus, he was God. Therefore, Jesus had the right to say that he was. Okay, but the unbelieving Jews, they didn't like that. But we see here in Genesis 18 that Abraham is dealing with Jesus, the one we call the Christ. Okay, now let's continue. Now I'm going to read verses 9 through 15. And make sure you have your Bibles out following along. All right. And it says, and they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, meaning Abraham said, behold, in the tent. So Sarah, she was in the tent. Verse 10. And he said, I will certainly. So that's what Jesus is saying. Okay, but here he's God. So most likely he's here Jehovah. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door and was behind them. I mean, which was behind them. So naturally, Sarah heard it because the tent was right there. And the tent is thin. It's just fabric. So of course you can hear right through it. Verse 11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age. So we not just talking about old, brothers and sisters. We are talking about super old. We talking about wrinkly face, skin crinkled up. You got the little crinkled arms. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the loose skin and all of that. That's the kind of old that they were. The Bible says well stricken in age. And it says, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So Sarah, she had already went through menopause. She wasn't having periods, none of that stuff, right? So her eggs in her womb dried up. So them days of her bearing children was completely over. And that's why with Sarah hearing that, this is what calls verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? So, Sarah just thought it was funny because she like, wow, man. She just was laughing at how old they were. She's like, man, we're so old. Would we even enjoy? It wasn't that Sarah was doubting what the Lord could do. It was just that she just wondered, like, would we even enjoy that, seeing that we're so old? In other words, would we enjoy sexual intercourse being as old as we are? Now, young people love it, but when you're old, go speak to old people. They don't desire that stuff no more. Old people, they just waiting. They just sitting there, biding their time, waiting till they go back to the grave, pretty much. I mean, I have to be blunt with you, but that's pretty much what they're doing. Verse 13, and it says, And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? So that lets you know, boy. Now Sarah was in a tent, and the Most High heard it, because I believe it said, Sarah laughed within herself, so she didn't even say it out loud. That lets you know that Christ, he can hear your thoughts. Remember, he did it in the New Testament. He was reading the thoughts of them unbelieving Jews and the Pharisees. He said, hey man, why you seek to destroy me? Boy, I know them Pharisees was like, huh? I didn't even say nothing. This the same God we dealing with. Verse 14. The Lord says, is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee, according to the time of life. And Sarah shall have a son. So, hey, don't even worry about whether or not you're going to enjoy it. Am I going to enjoy sex? Don't know. All you need to know is you're going to have a son. That's all you need to know. 15, it says, Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And that just, all that was right there is Sarah feared the Most High, because she understood the Most High don't play. Okay, he'll get you. That's not somebody you want to anger. But let's go ahead real quick, guys, to Romans 4, because you guys got to understand that Abraham believed everything that the Most High told him about him having a child at his old age and everything. We underestimate how much faith that actually takes. But Paul testified of his faith concerning this in Romans chapter 4. So let's go to Romans chapter 4, and I'm going to read verses 19 through 22. And it says, And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. So Abraham knew, okay, even though my body's old and stuff like that, he understood that the Most High God of Israel, he can bypass all understanding and all reasoning. Because according to man, they would say, listen, man, Your days of having children is over. I mean, you're old. Sarah went on menopause. I mean, Abraham, you're dried up. So, your chances of having a kid is basically zero. Nah, Abraham didn't worry about all that. He knew that God could deliver. And let me just say this right here. The reason why the Most High, before he brought the seed of promise, which was Isaac, before he brought Isaac forth, the reason why he made sure that Sarah and Abraham couldn't produce children was because when Isaac was born, he wanted everybody, including Abraham and Sarah and all of them that would come after them, he wanted them to know that this thing is of God. Sarah and Abraham can get no glory from this. Only God can get the glory from this. Think about it, man. I'm talking about they're old. Think about a super old person. I mean, the oldest person you could think of. Now, get a man and a woman that's that age. Would you look at them and honestly say, yeah, they could have children? No. So that took some faith on Abraham's part, which meaning God took all power out of Abraham and Sarah's hand to the point where they had to just trust him to deliver, and he did. Verse 20. And Paul says he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief. So Abraham was like, man, I'm too old. He didn't do that. But was strong in faith, giving glory to God, because boy, don't nothing move God like faith. It say without faith, it is impossible to please God. So if you don't got nothing else in this life, have some faith and God will see you through anything. Verse 21. So in other words, don't be sitting up there talking about you got faith, but yet you still trying to control everything. You still can't let go, sister. You got to completely let go, and you got to put everything into the Most High God's hand. All right. 21. And being fully persuaded that what he had promised, okay, and what did God promise Abraham? That, hey, I don't care about y'all age. Y'all gonna have a son, and his name gonna be Isaac. Okay. So Abraham, being fully persuaded, he was fully persuaded that what God had promised, he was able to perform. He that cometh to God must believe that he is God. So when you come to the Most High, you have to believe that he is who he is and that he could do all things. You must believe that. If you don't even waste your time praying. Okay. 22. Now look at this. And therefore it was imputed to him for righteousness. Abraham didn't do a single work. He didn't do nothing physically. All he did was have faith, and God imputed that to him for righteousness. I'm telling y'all, we got to get out of this carnal mindset. We got to get out of this carnal mindset. The Lord loves faith. Yes, you got to keep the commandments. Yes, because that's just what you're supposed to do. But above all, you have to have faith, because that is the number one thing that Satan will try to rip from you, is your faith, because he understands faith is what moves God. All right. So now let's go ahead and read verses 16 through 26. And it says, so after they was done eating so Christ and the two men, which are, I'll just go ahead and say it, they're angels, after they got done eating what Abraham made for them, verse 16. And the men rose up from thence. So they were finished, and they got up, and they looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. So Abraham was seeing these men off. Verse 17. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? So the Lord is planning on doing something, and he's trying to see whether or not he should tell Abraham. Verse 18. And the Lord says, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and a mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Okay. 19. For I know him, that he will command his children. Well, hold on. Let me read that again. For I know that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. You know what it's saying in verse 19? Because he said, I know Abraham will command his children and his household after him. You know who that after him is? It's talking about us. It was talking about from Isaac and the chosen remnant all the way down to 2021. So he was talking about us. Because ain't we keeping the law? We keeping the commandment. We have the faith. So guess what? We are part of Abraham's household, of whom he commanded to keep them commandments and keep the law and keep the faith. We're a part of that, verse 19. But them wicked Israelites, they not a part of that, verse 19. They're going to be cast into outer darkness. But we are the children of whom the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken unto him. That Abraham, I'm going to make your seed huge as the stars of heaven. We going to be them stars of heaven. That remnant, when God put all the remnant together from the beginning of time to now, all of that remnant, he going to fulfill what he said to Abraham, only made up of the righteous remnant. That's what he's referring to. But I don't want to go off. So back to verse 20. So he finna reveal to Abraham what he finna do. Verse 20. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. So you grieve. So when a nation is doing some real evil, it grieve God. He don't like sin. 21. He said, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. Okay. And it says 22, and the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. And Abraham stood yet before who? The Lord. So Abraham was still standing before Christ. All right. But the two men, those two angels, hey, and we know they angels because of chapter 19. They left. They went to Sodom. But Abraham, he still stayed there before the Lord. So, but we see right here in verse 21, the Lord is sending them angels to see if the sin and the distress is really as great as he hath heard. And it's crazy because throughout the Bible, we get these nuggets on how God determines judgment upon a city or a village or a nation. We see that. And we see that it's the Lord that brings evil upon a nation. He's the one that decides whether or not he's going to bring good or evil. Let's go ahead and go to Isaiah 45. Isaiah chapter 45, and I'm going to read verse 7, and it says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So the Most High, he says he create evil. So when he sends evil on a nation, first of all, before it was sent, who created it? The Most High did. Remember when Solomon was getting with all them foreign wives and them wives turned his heart? What did it say the Lord did? It say the Lord stirred up a what? An adversary unto Solomon. Hadad the Edomite of the king's seed. Remember that? He stirred them up. So it's the Lord that creates them. He stirs them up and then he sends them on you. That's how it works. So it's the Lord that does that. So whenever You see a nation invade another nation, start dropping bombs and shooting people up, doing all kind of stuff in the other nation that they just invaded. Well, who sent them? The Most High did. Because when you do evil, God gonna raise someone up. That's how it always worked since the beginning. All right, now let's go real quick to the book of Amos. Just another precept. Just another precept. Amos chapter 3, and I'm going to read verse 6. It says, "Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it?" See, it just goes to show you. So when you see nations invading other nations or bringing war to another nation, who you think did it? The Most High. The Most High sends that stuff. He raises the evil up and put the evil right on you. He said that with Israel. Hey, you transgress my covenant, guess what? I'm going to be an adversary to you. And guess what? I'm going to look for evil and I'm going to put it right on you. I'm going to get your rebellious butt. So it's the Lord. He do all of these things. Listen, y'all. The Most High, literally, he controls it all. I mean, he controls everything. I'm talking, he control everything. There's not nothing that's going on this earth or in the sky that he does not know about or controls. He controls it all. And that's why we got to fear the Most High. Like America, you know, they're doing all of this evil. And I'm just sitting back. I'm looking at news article after news article. I'm looking at news video after news video. I'm looking at both the regular news and alternative news. And all I'm seeing is evil everywhere. Homosexuality spread all over the place. Fornication all over the place. People can't stop murdering each other. People murdering each other over parking spaces. People murdering each other because they don't like the look on somebody's face. People stealing all over the place. Rich men oppressing the poor. Let me tell you something. And I'm just telling you. And I know from experience, if America does not change, and especially these Israelites in America, God is going to raise up evil like America has never seen. In Israel that's in America, they are going to cry and they are going to howl. And let me tell you something about America. I know I veered off a little bit, but let me tell you something. America is the only nation that has not experienced some type of war on their own home turf. But I'm telling you, this way America going, this ain't what they want, man. And see, right now, America is falling. But because America has had so much abundance from the past, it's taken them a while to really feel it. But I'm just telling y'all, get it together. In Israel, you doing all that showing out and stuff like that. Right now, especially Biden in that office. Okay, under Trump, y'all act like y'all was dying. But now that Biden is in office, y'all turned full-blown homosexual. And yes, I've heard how some of y'all in the Sabbath church, I heard how some of y'all ran off and left the truth as soon as Biden got in office. And I'm just telling you, if you don't repent, God going to raise up an adversary who's going to be formidable, and you going to be screaming. I'm just warning you. And I know, based off of experience, you going to have fun now, but the Lord going to bring the pain later. All right. Now, back to Genesis chapter 18. And I'm going to read verses 23 through 26. Yep. And it says, "And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?" So we automatically know in verse 23, First thing Abraham is thinking about is his nephew, Lot, which is his brother. Okay? And brother, I mean of his kin, his relative. Now, black people don't do that today. They would have just, if that was black people today, they'll say, well, that's Lot. Shoot, he shouldn't have never went over there to Sodom. Hey, that's on him. No, Abraham didn't do that. He was concerned. That's why Abraham said, will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? And that's another thing. Hey, it don't matter where you at. Sodom, it don't matter if you in Gomorrah. I don't care where you at. You better not be doing no evil. Because when the Lord bring judgment, hey, he gonna get you. But if not, he gonna bring you out like he did with Lot in chapter 19. Okay, verse 24. Now he brings up a scenario. He says, Lord, peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for 50 righteous that are therein? Meaning, let's say it was 800 million wicked people, but yet there was 15 that was righteous among them. Lord, would you still destroy? Would you still not despair the place because of those huge amounts of people that's doing wickedly? Verse 25, he says, that be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake. So the Lord said, oh, absolutely not. The Lord like, oh, I would save the city. And so you see right there, we're seeing how the Lord passes judgment on a nation. We see how he determines whether or not, okay, let me just put it this way. We're seeing the counsel of the Lord and what justifies him destroying a nation. Okay, let's go real quick to Ezekiel 22. Ezekiel chapter 22, and I'm going to read verses 29 and 30, because we're going to see, because what we're going to see here is basically what we're seeing in Genesis 18. We're going to see how the Lord determines whether or not he's going to destroy a city or a nation. Verse 29, he says, the people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery, and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. All right. Verse 30. And it says, this is the Lord talking, and I sought for a man among them. Okay. To the nation of Judah. Said, I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it. But I have found none. So the first thing the Lord does before he is going to pass judgment on a nation, he goes and he examines the nation. Let me just see if there's anybody in the nation that's trying to do right. I mean, not even perfect, but that's trying, just trying to show some effort, trying to live right. That's just trying. That's all the Lord wants. Let me just see if there's anybody trying. Nope. If he don't see that there is none, verse 31. Because he didn't find nobody righteous or trying. Verse 31. Therefore have I poured out mine indignation upon them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath. And how did the Lord consume the house of Judah? The first time, he consumed them using the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar. Their own way have I recompensed upon their heads, saith the Lord. So the Lord looked at the nation and he just looked. Let me see if there's anybody doing right. And see, that goes back to why the Lord took Josiah out of there. See, he got Josiah out of there because he wanted to bring judgment on the house of Judah. So with Josiah being a righteous king, he was kind of holding everything together. Hey, he took Josiah out of there. And that's why the Lord said the wicked, they don't think about it. They don't think about why the righteous be dying and why the Lord take the righteous out of the earth. And it's because he gonna judge they butt. He gonna get them wicked folks, but he can't do it with the righteous in the way. Now, let's go ahead real quick and go to Revelation 18. Now, this is concerning our time. Revelation 18. And I'm going to read verses 1 through 5, and it says, "And after these things, I saw an angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory." Because remember, we're going to shine like the sun in our new bodies, right? But we don't have those right now. Verse 2. "And this angel," it says, "and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and it's become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." So Babylon, this one we in, this Babylon, the Roman Empire. This angel describes this Roman Empire as being a cesspool of wickedness and foul behavior. And it is. All you have to do is just turn on your TV, turn on social media and look, and tell me that that angel wasn't telling the truth. No, he was telling the absolute truth. Babylon has become a cesspool for wickedness and bad behavior. Verse 3, it says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Okay, verse 4, "I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues." Now, this is alluding to our time, but we can't physically leave Babylon. This Babylon, we can't physically leave them, but you can leave them by separating yourself spiritually, right? By keeping God's laws, statutes, commandments, okay, and his judgments. That's how you separate yourself. Because when you keep God's laws, it will definitely separate you, especially in 2021. Because I can definitely confidently say in 2021, ain't nobody trying to keep God's law. Everybody trying to run off to the club. Everybody trying to have sex. Everybody just want to smoke weed all day, do drugs. Everybody just want to fight. Everybody want to just do anything that doesn't have to do with God. They doing it. But you as the saint, you saying you going to be like, no, I ain't going to do none of that. I'm going to keep serving God. That's how you separate yourself. So that way, whenever God bring this divine judgment, you don't have to get any of that. All right. Verse 5, it says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquities." So there's going to become a day, brothers and sisters, where this Roman Empire, God is going to have enough of these 10 toes. Okay. He is going to get sick of them, and eventually their cup is going to fill up till there is no remedy, and he is going to utterly destroy them. See, you only going to do evil for so long. You're going to only do it for so long. You ain't getting away. You only getting by for the moment until it's time to reap that which you have sown. So now let's go back to Genesis 18. Back to Genesis 18, and I'm going to finish off reading the rest of this, verse 27 through 33, and it says, "And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. So Abraham know he taking the chance by keep talking to the Lord. He know he taking the chance because you ain't gonna change God's mind. Let me just put it that way. 28. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be, if there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, O let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. So Abraham's trying to change the Lord's mind. Why? Because he's thinking about his nephew, Lot. He didn't want Lot to be destroyed. Okay, now that's a different mindset from what we think. We don't care if our brothers get destroyed today, but Abraham, he cared. Verse 31. It says, and he said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but yet this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And you know what that mean? With that number getting lower, that mean in Sodom, it wasn't 10 people righteous. They were completely overthrew by sin. Okay, verse 33. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communion with Abraham. And Abraham returned to his place. The two men, they went to Sodom. Where did the Lord go? He went back up to heaven. That's where he went. Because the Lord, he went his way. He was gone. But he went back up to heaven based off of Genesis 19. But that is it for that lesson, brothers and sisters. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will catch back up with you on the next chapter, Genesis 19. And I hope you guys got some understanding. And with that, shalom.